Welcome back to the Cyber Resilience Brief, a Safe Breach podcast. I'm Tova Devorin, your host, and with me is Adrian Cully, my co-host and our resident offensive cybersecurity engineer here at Safe Breach. In our last two episodes, we looked at the history and the command structure of Iranian cyber. Today, we're getting into the specific groups that keep CISOs in the energy and aviation sectors awake at night.
Hi to all of our listeners, and thank you for joining us again. Today's going to be all about the heavy hitters. We're looking at the industrial espionage giants, the groups that don't just want to disrupt, they want to steal the blueprints of the modern world.
That's right. We're talking about APT-33, OilRig, and MuddyWater. It's clear that these groups have undergone a massive technical glow-up in the last year.
They really have, Tova. They've moved away from script kiddie tactics to high-end, stealthy operations that mimic the most advanced threat actions on the planet, that are the most advanced threat actions on the planet.
That's right. And let's start with the big one, APT-33, also known as Elfin or Magnesium. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. If you're in aerospace or oil and gas, this is your primary adversary.
Exactly. APT-33 is the IRGC's preferred tool for intellectual property theft. Their goal is simple. Iran is under heavy sanctions, so they can't buy the latest turbine tech or drone schematics or whatever else sanctioned technology on the open market. So they send APT-33 to go take it. They're actually tasked with a collection plan, which is how all intelligence agencies worked, to aggressively target these industry sectors.
I understand there was a massive breach in 2025 involving a European aerospace firm. What was the smoking gun there?
So the smoking gun, Tova, was their use of a tool called drop shot. It's a sophisticated dropper that delivers a wiper called stone drill. But here's the clever part. They didn't lead with the wiper. They spent months exfiltrating engine schematics first. The wiper was just the cleanup crew to hide their tracks once they were done, to destroy the evidence.
Oh, that's a far cry from the loud attacks we discussed in episode 1 of our Iranian series.
It is. It's espionage first, destruction second. And for a breach and attack simulation engineer like me, what's interesting is their persistence. They use a custom backdoor called Turned Up. We know that they updated this in late 2025 to bypass specific behavioral heuristics in modern endpoint detection EDRs. So Turned Up is a Trojan. It tends to be sent via email, interestingly, which is a bit of an anachronistic technique these days. We do have extensive coverage of the attack code. If you're a Safe Breach customer, you'll find it in the playbooks. If you run our OilRig scenario overall, it's all embedded into there. But we have very detailed knowledge of the actual line-by-line offensive code that's used when deploying the Turned-Up backdoor.
And we'll be right back. Okay, thank you, Adrian, for that additional context. Now let's pivot to OilRig, or APT-34. While APT-33 is global, OilRig feels much more surgical.
OilRig is the master of the Middle Eastern theatre. That they target government, finance, and telecommunications, primarily in the Gulf. But don't let the regional focus fool you. That their techniques are world-class.
Right, and they're famous for living off the land, aren't they?
Exactly. They love using DNS tunneling. Instead of connecting to a suspicious IP address, their malware hides stolen data inside standard DNS queries. To a traditional firewall, it just looks like your computer's trying to find a website. It's incredibly hard to spot without deep packet inspection or behavioral analysis.
And they've been using a new loader called Quadagent lately.
Right, they're using it to target administrative accounts. Once they have those, they don't need malware anymore. They just use the admin's own PowerShell scripts to move through the network. This is where detection fails and validation becomes the only way to survive.
Let's talk about that validation. If I'm a security leader in a high-stakes industry, how do I use the Safe Breach platform or other platforms like ours to stay ahead of an actor like OilRig?
So I would recommend, because it's what I do, start with the Hacker's Playbook. Our world-class research and development team here at Safe Breach stays on top of current events and threat actors. You can always see in our playbook section of our platform exactly what attack code's been loaded in the last couple of days. When we see APT-33 update the drop shot payload, we add that specific behavior to the Safe Breach playbook.
And in other words, that means that I could run a red team style simulation of an APT-33 attack with a single click.
Exactly. Very precisely, Tova. You run the simulation and the platform tells you exactly where the attack was blocked and, more importantly, where it wasn't. But with continuous automated red teaming, CART, we take it a step further. We don't just test the initial breach. We test the lateral movement.
Right, because if OilRig is living off of your land, then we need to find it where it lives.
Exactly. If OilRig gets into your guest Wi-Fi or a low-security workstation, CART will automatically try to find the path to your SCADA systems or your financial database using the same TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, found in the wild.
And as we've discussed before, it's adversarial exposure validation, AEV, which helps you prioritize those results and see what to remediate first.
Right, Tova, these approaches layer upon each other, and we're refining as we deliver this. If CART finds 50 paths to your sensitive data, AEV will tell you these 3 paths are the ones OilRig is currently using in the wild. It turns a mountain of data into a localized, actionable to-do list for your remediation team. It lets you prioritize your cyber order of battle.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think in all the research we've done in this podcast so far, we can agree that the security noise for most tools is just as problematic as the threat actors themselves. So it's absolutely critical to have that prioritization.
Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted, as I've said before. And this approach allows you to hone right into the highest risk that affects you directly and then deal with it.
And we'll be right back. Well said. Well, we can't leave out MuddyWater. They've become the MOIS's offensive espionage wing, and their volume of attacks increased by over 100% in 2025.
So absolutely that, Tova. MuddyWater is the volume player. They cast a wide net. They've been targeting US transportation and manufacturing sectors very heavily last year. They use a new C2 framework called Phony C2. It's designed to look like legitimate cloud traffic, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud.
So they're hiding in the clouds that we use to run our businesses, or frankly, we use to run everything.
Absolutely. They've gone for the path of least resistance. They're hiding in plain sight. And that's why exposure management is so critical. You can't just block the bad clouds. You have to validate that your security stack can tell the difference between a legitimate AWS API call and a MuddyWater heartbeat. Never lose sight of why you have security controls in the first place. It's to protect your assets and maintain production viability, to stay in business. We are validating security controls to protect assets and ultimately protect the business by removing or reducing risk. And the cloud is full of risk.
In short, the giants are getting smarter, stealthier, and more persistent. But, Adrian, as you always say, validation is the antidote to uncertainty.
Don't wait for the breach to find out if your IP is safe. Run a simulation. Validate the exposure, close the gap. Simulate and emulate those threat actors that are targeting you. And if you're not sure about this, speak to us. We'll help you.
Absolutely. Now, stay tuned for next time where we're moving from the machines to the humans. We're talking about the social engineers, the actors who don't hack your firewall, they hack you.
Exactly, Tove. We're going to be talking about charming kitten in the next episode and how they use artificial intelligence to build relationships before they build a back door. You probably won't want to miss that episode.
Absolutely, Adrian. And until next time, stay safe with SafeBreach.
Bye-bye.
The Cyber Resilience Brief is a SafeBreach podcast. Executive produced by Adrian Cully and Tova Dvorin. Music produced by Sarah Dressner. Hosted, edited, and compiled on Riverside. For more about SafeBreach and how you can validate your security controls across your entire IT infrastructure, visit us at www.safebreach.com. That's www.safebearch.com.